This is Tech Talk Detroit with Brian Spurgeon and Chuck Lobert. Tech Talk Detroit brings you the latest in tech news and Detroit happenings every week.
Well, welcome back to Tech Talk Detroit. I'm Chuck here with Brian. So, Brian, let me tell you about my past weekend here. I spent 6 hours on Saturday building a stupid bed from IKEA. I don't know why I keep buying stuff from IKEA, but for some reason, I let my family talk.
Glutton for punishment. Every time you get involved in that store, it's like the coolest place to walk through. But that's where it ends, kind of, for me. It's the second you get home and unbox it, you're like, oh my God, what did I get into?
See, I don't even like going to walk through it because the second I hear, hey, we got to go to IKEA, I know what that means. It means me spending at least a day building stuff. And I'm not a big fan of building stuff, especially with when you buy something from IKEA. So we got a bed from IKEA. I'm pretty sure it started as just a group of logs. And I had to whittle them into a bed.
I know. You got to buy 15 tools just to shape the wood the way you need it, for sure. Yeah, then you get like a single page of instructions to do. You know, it's 10 times more complicated than what the little 8x10 flyer is, you know.
Well, I think I had a total of about, 7 boxes for this one bed. And then one part of it, like the base of the bed was 3 boxes. Then there was like this bookshelf thing that goes behind the bed is the headboard, and that was another 2 boxes. And then the stupid bed slats that become the base or sit on top of the base for the mattress to sit on was another 2 boxes. It's just it drives me insane. And then you open it and the parts all just fall out, and then you have to shake the stupid box to get the screws and everything out and find the instructions and then figure out how you're going to follow the instructions, and it's just a nightmare. Yeah,
no, I put something together from there recently that I got the whole thing together, and one of the finishes on the front of a board on a shelf was missing. But it took me so long to get to that point that it's sitting there. It looks like a piece of plywood with a nice wood grain everywhere else. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't be taking it apart. And so I posted this on Facebook that once everything was all said and done. And a buddy of mine says, oh, my daughter's got a very similar bed, and says that he paid somebody $25 to build it for him. So I'm feeling like a complete idiot now. Because if I could have paid somebody $25 to build this stupid bed for me, I would have done that in a heartbeat. So
lessons learned, man.
I suppose.
Lessons learned.
Until next time when I do the exact same thing and I sit here and talk about the exact same thing happening.
Yeah, so my weekend was quite different than yours. I had to go to a diaper party this weekend.
Well, it's not that. I built the bed in a diaper, so.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so the diaper party, it's something new that started with my buddies the last couple of years. I've been seeing it more and more, but basically I got a friend who has a baby on the way, and it's his first child. So basically it's just an excuse for a bunch of guys to get together, drink, hang out, and your entry fee is a box of diapers. So
cool.
It's a way to get them started and get them going. But we went and had some cigars. It was a good time.
So if you didn't pick up on that, that was 6 hours building a bed, and I didn't have to take any bathroom breaks.
Sounds like next time you go to IKEA, we'll throw you a diaper party before you go. That way you're nice and prepared, you know.
It'll save me some money. Diapers are expensive.
Go and remodel the whole kitchen, you know. You'd be loaded up and ready to go.
I appreciate that.
Oh, man. So this week we're going to talk about something a little different. We're going to get into an article that we read on BizTech Magazine, and what they were talking about was small business tech trends to watch in 2020. So the first one they hit on here, I think, is one that you're hearing more and more, but they say businesses will deploy artificial intelligence as a service.
Yeah, I think the key part of that is as a service, because there's lots of things you can do with artificial intelligence, with AI, and really the possibilities are endless. But the holdup has always been the price, the cost of getting into it, having somebody develop you a system, a platform, and all of that. But the as a service part really kind of helps to make it more cost effective. So you've got tools like the infrastructure as a service built on Azure, and there's plenty of other services as well. But what these do is they help to kind of break that cost down so that you avoid some of that upfront cost, the cost behind the infrastructure and all of that, and break it down into more of like a monthly operating expense.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is, as time goes on, AI will get easier, but it's still, it's a bit of an overwhelming thing, and it can be difficult to deploy. So I think, one of the things is if you think AI is something that your business can take advantage of, your best bet is to really start small. You want to find a good gap in something that you're doing, a workload that you're doing that you think can be improved, and really just kind of sit down and just focus on that very specific thing and determine, how you can use AI to fill that gap. So I figured we can take time to talk about some of the ways that we see other businesses talking about AI.
Yeah, and I know one way that I've seen is there's different CRMs out there that are starting to implement AI into their system. So now, as a small business, it's not something that you have to go out and develop, but it might already be something that's available within one of the tools that you already use, the CRM that you already use, or a different piece of software. Like I know with CRMs, some of the stuff that they're doing is, if you have your CRM set up so that it's looking at all of your different marketing sources, whether it's social, email, digital website, all of that kind of stuff, it kind of watches all of that and watches for feedback and interactions with it, and then uses that data to be able to present, whether it's different ways to do things or suggested changes, or even automating some of those changes to just kind of adjust the lead generation activities that you're doing within that CRM based on the traffic that it's seeing, based on feedback that they're getting, all of that kind of stuff, and automate a lot of that.
And I've seen it too with the CRMs from the sales standpoint of when you're going and you're plugging an opportunity in for something you want to sell, it's able to take that sale, look at past sales with that client, maybe compare it against other companies in the same industry, and kind of give you a rating or a percentage chance based on real data of the likelihood that you're going to close. And, I've even seen those go to the next level of make recommendations of what they would do different potentially with that quote or that opportunity to increase your likelihood that you do close the sale. So yeah, I think the CRMs really are capitalizing on it. And a lot of that stuff's built into the line of business apps too. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times it's just a matter of finding a good app for you and then configuring out the features.
Yeah. A lot of these tools now have the insights built in. So, as soon as you enter in even a new prospect, it'll go out and it'll find data on places like LinkedIn and other, sources that it'll gather, and it'll tell you stuff like who the key players are within that company, what level they're in, how many employees, what's their annual revenue, all of that kind of stuff, what's their annual spend on different types of things that really help you to focus in your efforts to find the right people, the right companies you want to work with, and really be able to start building that lead pipe.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think just another good example is, I think from a scheduling standpoint, I've seen this across many different applications and different ways it was implemented. But, whether it's you're trying to schedule your workforce and to find the best person for a particular job, or, if you're trying to schedule out a bunch of empty time, if you're trying to do projects, right? And you can go and look at, these are all the people I have available for a project. And you can have these systems kind of go through and just automatically resource people and notify you also if, hey, your deadline is 3 weeks out, but, there's 180 hours of labor that needs to be done. With only 2 people, there's no way we're going to be able to do that. So, it alerts you need to go out and find other resources or readjust your date. So I think, you're seeing a lot of different ways that they're able to implement that.
Yeah, I think the starting point is kind of looking at the typical, routine, mundane tasks that you're doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, whatever it is, whether it's preparing for a meeting, putting together data, reports, all of that kind of stuff, or if there's a certain task that you always do, and looking at a way, okay, is there a way to bring in AI to be able to help with these things? I mean, a lot of it now is even using natural language search for different sales results and stuff. Like I've seen demonstrations of systems where you can just type into your computer or even speak with something like an Alexa and just say what was our revenue last year, or what's our current margin dollars, different things like that, and it'll just it's got access to all the appropriate data to be able to find that answer very quickly for you.
And it's instantaneous almost. It's, you think about the time that goes to get the information. So and I think one last area to hit on, I think is probably the coolest to me in terms of how I see AI used, is you see a lot of different security platforms starting to leverage AI. So obviously, hacking is a 24/7 business and it never sleeps. So I think what I'm seeing is, a lot of these tools are looking at, a company's employees and their users and learning to understand their habits. So, Joe works typically from 7:30 to 6 p.m. at night, and on occasion he'll send an email in the evenings. But, they can look and see that, okay, well, Joe seems to have logged in from Pakistan, at 3 a.m. this morning and try to send out 200 emails to all of his colleagues. So you're able to see that happen. The systems are able to acknowledge that, hey, this isn't right, and start to automatically lock down access to all of the other platforms. So that way, if Joe's account is exploited, that he's not spreading, any kind of threat to everybody else. So I think that's one of the coolest areas I see it. And I think it's an easy way and a very a good way to try to leverage that in your business.
Yeah, I think the only time I've seen a problem with that is when I had to fly out to Switzerland over the weekend to pick up a screw that didn't come in the boxes from IKEA. And it thought that I wasn't in Switzerland, so it blocked my email.
It's unbelievable, though, technology hurting you, right?
Right? Another way I've seen it really is with the different chatbots that are out there. I think that's one of the natural ways that a lot of people get into it, is having these chatbots that'll automatically respond to your customers on your website and different things to be able to help find the data that they're looking for, find the pages they're looking for, answer different questions based on information that you give it, but that saves you or somebody else from having to sit there and answer questions on the website.
Yep, I think, so going on to the next topic here, IT departments will expand their use of automation. I think this is one that we can easily speak on. Really a good core of our business is the automation element, but why don't you give us your thoughts on that?
Yeah, automation, the biggest thing that I think we use it for is really to help us to be able to do a lot more with, more with less, but, not necessarily less money, less financial resources, but, a lot of times less people. So we're able to get a lot more done with the people that we already have. So, building out the system so that the monitoring of certain important things are happening, and then building automation so that when certain triggers come about, it automatically does different tasks, whether it's, for us in our business, it might be creating certain types of tickets or running certain types of tasks on servers and computers and such that you might otherwise have to have, some like a lower level person on staff to do those things. But now it's happening 24/7 as opposed to having somebody here from, say, 8 to 5 that's only, watching those things during those times.
Yeah, totally. And I think when I think automation, I think efficiency. And I think just to kind of hit on what you're talking about, one of the common ways that we're able to leverage it for our benefit and also our clients' benefit is if you just look at simply like a hard drive and the free space available on a computer, right? We have certain thresholds in place where if you get, less than 10% of your free space, right, which is really where you start to see a performance hit on your computer, the system is going to automatically go and run a disk cleanup and clean up temp files and do the things that normally you would have, a level 1 technician on hand doing. But this all happens in real time. The second that computer gets that 10% threshold, the system's automatically running disk cleanup. And at that point in time, if the disk cleanup doesn't get you back in a good spot, then we're creating a ticket so that our team can go in there and figure out what needs to happen, what changed. So I think that's the way that we do it. And really, I think any business should be investing some time into figuring out what they can automate.
Absolutely. And that's, it ties right into our first topic because a lot of the reasons that you use artificial intelligence is to automate things. It's just kind of taking it a step further and even, automatically doing some of that automation as well. But really, on a regular basis, what we do as a business is we look at all of our processes and we say, okay, is there a way to automate, whether it's the whole process or pieces of the process to, the more that you can kind of take the human element out of it, the less mistakes you're going to have, the less problems you're going to have, and the more that you're going to be able to do. Because again, you're not paying your automation, so you're just paying for the systems that do it. So it can be running 24/7, whereas obviously you can't have a person working 24/7.
Totally, yeah. And if you look at it, backups is a great example of how most businesses are using automation, even if they're not realizing it. If you go back 10, 15 years ago, you would do a backup to your tapes. But then there was this manual requirement for somebody in the company to remember to go and pull the tapes and label them and make sure that they take them off site so that you had an off site backup and to put the other tapes in and
test them.
Totally. And you're completely relying on the possibility of human error. You're putting your business on the line. Now, a good backup system is going to back up locally and automatically replicate to the cloud. You don't even have to think about it. All you're relying on is doing your checks to see, hey, did we back up successfully or not? And, doing your tests to make sure that the backup integrity is good. So I think that's the most common use of, the day-to-day automation, but very, very important topic there.
Absolutely. And it can be daunting to think, okay, well, how are we going to automate? What are we going to automate? And it's hard to get into. You think of the growing pains that you're going to go through, but ultimately when you kind of start small and you just look at your basic processes and start building out automation where you can, relatively easily, you're going to start to see the benefit of it. And now you're going to start to look for more ways to do it, because ultimately it's one of the best ways to make your company more efficient and more productive to help you continue to grow.
So next talking point is small businesses will focus more on the mobile experience.
Yeah, so I think what they're talking about here is a lot of companies are going to really focus on mobile app development. Hopefully you've already got a mobile responsive website. If you don't, that would be step number one, is make sure